Leslie and Roland Hobbs, with the assistance of a professional gift planner, were able to share their blessings with their church, the seminary, and their heirs in ways they could not have realized on their own.
Pastor Hobbs, would you share with us about how you first became acquainted with Gettysburg Seminary and how that relationship has continued to grow over the years?
Sure. Well, I'm a graduate of Gettysburg Seminary, graduated in 1965 and was ordained into my first call. And so it was 4 years here on the Hill. They were a good 4 years. And I maintained a relationship with the seminary after that, after the first degree. Later on in the 80s, I came back and did some continuing ed and then moved into the Master of Sacred Theology program and got that degree, and have maintained a relationship with the seminary in a variety of different ways. So it's been an ongoing relationship with the seminary, and it's been good.
And Leslie, other than being married to a pastor that attended Gettysburg Seminary, what has your personal involvement been with the seminary over the years?
Many years ago, while we were in Hagerstown, I was invited to serve on the Maryland Synod Church Vocations Committee. That's a predecessor of the candidacy committees now. Well, I served on that committee, chaired that committee for a number of years, and during that time I had the opportunity to serve on the seminary board. So I was a member of the board of directors of Gettysburg for 22 years. It was absolutely wonderful years. My experiences working with the president, the faculty, the students were just a real highlight of my life.
How did your relationship with the seminary contribute to your decision to make a planned gift, and when did you first start to think about this?
Well, we've been contributing to Gettysburg Seminary all of our married life. We always supported the annual fund. Early years, the gifts weren't so large, but it was what we could afford at the time. And as our resources grew over the years, we've always given gifts to the seminary. We contributed to the Valentine Hall renovation, to the Stempley endowment, other things as they came along. But now, looking towards our estate, we wanted to be sure that our contributions to the seminary would continue in the future. I think that started probably a decade ago when we put some money into the ELCA's Mission Investment Fund. We fully support the Mission Investment Fund because we support mission throughout the church. And we thought, well, it would be great that that money we put into the Mission Investment Fund now will continue as a contribution, a charitable gift after our death. We didn't realize that that was not the best thing to do.
I understand that you sought the assistance of a professional gift planner, David Whitenack, with the ELCA Foundation for information to help you set up the gift. How was his assistance and expertise particularly helpful to you?
Oh, David was wonderful. As a representative of the ELCA Foundation, he had so much knowledge and just such a positive Christian approach to discussion about our whole investments and our desires for what we wanted to do with our funds after our death. He came to our home 3 times. The first time, it was just to get to know us. We sat in the living room and chatted, and we learned about him. He was interested in who we were and what our priorities are. And we had a wonderful discussion. And then he asked us to do some thinking before we would meet again. He asked us to summarize our investments, our income, and just what we envisioned our estate would be. And that was the end of the first visit. David came back a couple of weeks later. In the interim, Roland and I had gathered all this information and reviewed it with David at the second visit. We sat around the kitchen table that time. It was easier. He went over all that we had provided, and immediately a red flag went up for David because he realized that our intention to give to the seminary with the residual of the the Mission Investment Fund money was not the best thing to do. And it was his recommendation that we make our charitable gift out of the unannuitized portion of Roland's pension. This was still money through the church and would continue with the church, but it would have a better tax advantage for our heirs. We heard what David had to say, and it made so much sense, something we hadn't thought about. So he went back and got all the paperwork in place, and when he came for his third visit, David laid it all out for us. We reviewed it all carefully to be sure that what he had prepared was exactly what we wanted, because there was still time to make changes if need be, but he had done it just right. So we signed these forms, and he even mailed them off to the appropriate places, and it was a wonderful process, and we felt really good about it because we were still remembering the seminary and our congregation in our estate, but we're doing it in the most tax advantageous way.
He was a part of the church, and he has a desire for mission, and what he's doing is helping persons in the church make resources available to do mission. And that motivation clicked with me, and I said, okay. And that led to our first meeting that we had with him.
Okay. And now, what flexibility, if any, do you have to make changes to this gift now that you have it set up?
We have complete flexibility. This is nothing irrevocable. The way we have set this up, we've made the seminary and also our congregation the beneficiaries of a percentage of this unannuitized part of the pension. And we can always change that. We don't intend to, but if there was an emergency need, we could do that. But it's not our plan at all. We want some of our assets to go to the seminary.
Yeah.
So how difficult was it for you to set up the gift in terms of the time and the paperwork involved?
Not very difficult at all. David, as Leslie said, made it very easy because he knew what we had to do to communicate with the both the Mission Investment Fund to change that, and also the pension plan, and brought the forms and said, "This is what you need to fill these out, send them in," and it was that easy.
And finally, what advice do you have for other individuals that may be interested in gift planning?
Don't be afraid of it. I think we were reluctant to get into this whole area, but it can be done in a way that had the advantages of taxes, the advantages of knowing that your gifts and your support will continue, and it was made easy for us. And so I would say to folks, think about what you've done in your life and what you would like how your assets to be used in the future, and don't hesitate to inquire, to learn about this. Someone such as David Whitenack, and I know that he has counterparts around the whole church in other synods. Such Molly, you can provide information. My advice is go for it. Remember, God has blessed you richly, and you can continue to share his blessings.